So
Do we have a light?
cut this.
Did I take the light?
No, it's right there.
Let's turn the light on. I think that's kind of dark and morbid. Are we live?
We're recording. So, and plus with the actual like in program YouTube video editor,
You just cut out.
there's a ton of like options that we haven't even really like begun to work with.
Okay. Okay. There we go. This looks scary.
Scary.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. This is the best opening to a podcast ever. Hello, I am Michael Hangy, a.k.a. Michael Rise of Fun Guy, and this is my co-host, Joseph Montgomery. Tell him what's up, Joseph.
Lots of great things have been going on these last couple of weeks. Lots of terrible things have been happening as well too. So it's a little bit of back and forth what we're going to be bringing to you today. Definitely something that we want people to kind of understand in our process of the series. We've been pushing towards getting people more activated in their own personal health transformation. Yes. We want to really start with, I guess, some of the beginning basics
That's right.
that we talked about before. For the fact of the last few weeks, if you've been working on some of just the simple protocols of getting decent waters back into your day-to-day functional sleep,
more water, better water.
Making sure that you're working on normalizing your eating schedule, eating patterns. Trying to discover a platform that'll actually promote your health into the next sort of levels. Today we're going to really dial things down a little bit and talk about doing a structured elimination diet, which is sometimes the first step for a lot of individuals to be able to begin to be healthy. And that's a big platform that we really want people to kind of understand how to do it correctly, how to push the envelope on this, and to make sure that you're actually following a protocol instead of just, I cut something out for 3 days and I, didn't feel any difference, so I went back to eating whatever that was. You understand that's again sometimes some of the big mishaps that occur during doing an elimination diet that we see very routinely. So rules and structure and everything when it comes to elimination diets is something where I think the biggest thing is you got to pick a sub or a category of material, whether you're noticing gluten or wheat interaction, dairy or eggs or citrus, corn, soy, or just the idea of preservatives even. Like you can pick whichever,
GMO
compounds,
foods,
GMOs that you're trying to eliminate, sulfur containing.
Let's back up a little bit here. Let's talk about a little bit, just for anyone who has no context for what an elimination diet is or why we would do it.
Right.
And I think this is actually one of the most effective things about the paleo diet. And what's made it so popular or effective for some people is not the fact that you get to eat a bunch of meat, which really I don't think should be the emphasis at all, but the fact that you're avoiding all these common allergens, all these inflammatory foods.
More recently produced foods.
Yeah. Right. So for anyone trying to be on a healthy path and asking, where do I start? What's a good place to start? Elimination diets and understanding what's not appropriate for your body is a great place to start and might clear up a lot of your issues just by doing that. Yeah. And so really this is part of developing the relationship with your body.
Correct.
So that's kind of the why, but tell me a little bit about the what exactly. I mean, I think you probably already touched on it, but what exactly is an elimination diet?
Well, the idea,
is it forever?
The idea is you're seeing an interaction in your body. You may not notice like why, but anything from just indigestion, bloating, gas production, stomach cramping, really loose or really, hard constipated stools, skin irritations, headache, muscle pain, joint pain, anything that essentially is around this, that's where I would start with an elimination platform. Because the idea is avoidance of certain foods might drastically improve the way your body is processing. Yeah. Usually, elimination diets targeting something that your body's not digesting fully. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the unique things is that you can pick a selection of foods, and you really do need to eliminate them completely from your system for on the order of about 14 to even 20 days. Mm-hmm. Staying away from them for at least that window of opportunity is the body's ability to completely flush it out of the digestive tract, not have it be interacting with the cells and creating a hyperinflammatory reaction. And it's really a strong interaction that I would feel most people need to understand. By that time, common allergens, and especially dairy. Dairy seems to be one that actually sticks in the cells and inside the system for a little longer than certain like wheat or corn or soy allergens. Those can sometimes flush out pretty quickly within, say, maybe 7 to 10 days. But 14 days is the minimum for dairy. So when you're picking those items to eliminate, the interesting part, though, is that you have the elimination phase, which is that 14 to 20 days, and then you actually take the moment when you're done with your elimination phase to have a reintroduction phase. Right. And that's key and critical. So the idea is if you're eliminating wheat, if you've taken that out of your diet for 14 to 21 days, then you go back to having a full wheat-style based, food additive. Eating just whole grain bread, having some sort of wheat flour, pasta dish or something along those lines, and you test in time the reactivity for your body to see if there's a hypersensitivity to it. So the idea is you would keep a food
and one at a time.
Correct.
I don't know if you
one
mentioned
at a time.
That.
Yeah.
I like 28 days just because it's a moon cycle, and it just seems like there's 13 in a year, so it's like a nice balance of measurement of time. Not a big deal though. It's kind of
it's
splitting hairs at that point, right?
Well, and if you're really, like I say, the interesting part about it is this. Some allergenic reactive foods, after being detoxed long enough, the first introduction may not actually cause a reaction. And it might be the second or third time you eat it that you'll actually see the reintroduction to the allergenic system. So because a lot of allergies is really a buildup of toxicity. So when the liver's not digesting or properly enzymatically breaking down certain foods, or leaky gut system maybe needs to take a couple days to start coming back online, that's where when we did our talk about GMOs, we sort of talked about the idea that that's one of those great but hard to eliminate from the diet structures.
Really hard.
That we can go after.
Especially if you're eating out.
Correct.
And buying packaged food. But if you can get into making food from scratch and it becomes a fun pastime or hobby for you, that can be really liberating.
And that's one of the big things about food freedom. I do a 4-week class that's all about the conversion steps of getting yourself away from that standard American processed diet system that's out there. And stepping into whole foods and real food again, and getting superfoods introduced and just natural, because it's really more about the additions instead of the subtractions that we love to promote in healthy eating. The idea is you don't have to cut everything out that you enjoy and love about food and life.
And that's the wrong way to think about this. As like a doom and gloom. Oh, I cut all this out. What's left? People say that all the time when you tell them, yeah, cut out these 5 or 10 food groups or whatever, and you're going to be great. And they're like, oh, but what's left? There's nothing left to eat. And it's like, come on.
Yeah, there's
let's not be
tons of food out there.
And it's actually, and maybe that's good because you had such a narrow view on what is edible. And you're going to have habits too. Like right now you have food habits, foods that you tend to normally grab and go to because your brain knows, oh, I can get these, this fuel from here. So, you're going to have food habits that you're probably going to have to replace and be prepared to replace.
Correct. So the idea is if you're that standard person that leaves 35 minutes before you need to be at your place of work, giving you that perfect 10 to 15 minutes to be in the Starbucks drive-through line in order to grab your delicious, delectable white chocolate mocha latte or whatever it might be, and the 2 little croissant additions that go inside of the bag. The funny thing is that when you're eliminating that wheat flour, you're going to have to change that up. You're going to have to figure something else out out that will let you carry on that activity to where you're not getting those particular allergens in, and be prepared for it. That's where meal planning during the elimination diet is so critical. And if you already have worked with a health coach, they might have a particular sort of maybe new platform to think about. So maybe you've gone in and actually taken the initial steps and actions of grabbing a new cookbook platform, the Eat Right for Your Blood Type diet book, or the leptin diet, looking at the paleo diet, or starting to venture into, some sort of vegan or vegetarianism, if that's the route that you're going. These are things to discuss to figure out that long-term plan, and knowing that elimination diets are kind of the beginning steps.
Exactly.
So it's let's get into the idea of now, like you're saying, opening and broadening those horizons. There are more places to eat than just what's near the intersection of your local freeway, even though they're the most convenient. You might find really great, well-cooked and traditional style foods and different ethnicities that actually support a much more natural and much heavier, lifestyle.
And it's going to get better too. It's going to be easier as people are kind of catching on to conscious food. We're actually, this isn't new. We're going back to what food used to be. You wouldn't find canola oil and genetically modified foods and using tons of white sugar, back in a traditionally pub or wherever you would stop on the way to get food back in the day. Yeah. So what are some of the common symptoms that somebody might look for when they are having a reaction to food?
The biggest things that I would say, obviously, are anything directly in the stomach. When you actually eat a meal that contains something you think could be reactive, that's going to be the area where you have the most sensitivity. So it's unique because a lot of people think, after my meals, I normally get bloated or I normally have digestive issues.
Like that's a normal thing.
Like that's a normal thing. Mm-hmm. And until they eliminate it out and they go, oh, wait a minute, I can actually eat and not feel this way, then they kind of go, what have I been doing to myself all this time?
Right. But that's why the other reason we're doing the food elimination episode is, yes, it's a great foundation. It's kind of an essential part of being healthy, is knowing that. But then also, it's something that you may not consider. We were talking about this before. A lot of people might not consider that, like something like citrus would be, a big allergen for a lot of people. And we'll go over that too. But so stomach bloating, heart palpitations. So any kind of stabbing, bloating, gas.
Those types of pains, those types of pressures. If you're feeling really any acid-style reflux occurring after the meal, a lot of times that's showing that the material mixing in the stomach isn't working properly. And understand that we have a population that actually is completely deficient on most of our HCl, our master enzyme, and that can a lot of times be the first new addition to a healing system once you've found the allergenics that are causing a reaction. I would say it's very unique too, because most people with a lot of the allergens, because you bypass the actual lips and put food directly in your mouth, even if you're just placing food items as you're trying to test to see reactivity just right to the front of the lips, if you hyperreact, you get any kind of swelling, blistering, any kind of reddening of the face, body acne,
like a fuzzy feeling in the mouth.
Oh yeah, like a really itchy kind of scratchy feeling that's occurring inside the actual tissues of the mouth and throat. A lot of times those are indicating that the body's having some sort of reaction. Now, in the instance of having candida overgrowth, the unique thing is that elimination diet, when you're cutting sugar out, will start to kill off that bacterium, and it can actually cause that overall tissue feeling. So it's one of those to where,
or if they're giving off heavy metals, or something that they've
respiration,
sequestered.
And again, it's unique because we're strictly going after the foods here, but it's also one of those where it's so critical to be writing down what reactions you're having, especially even as you're coming away from the first 2 to 3 days. And that's usually the window that I would say for most issues to come out is about the second or third day. First day, you've got all the determination, everything that you've just loaded into your new program, and you're all excited to get it done. Second or third day, you're like, I really miss a bagel, or I just don't know what to do without cheese, or whatever whatever it is that you've eliminated, and those behaviors and habits are something that you want to try to again look for better options, refortify, find other ways of still getting something that's close to it. Like if you're cutting.
That's part of the meal planning. Is set yourself up for success.
Correct.
So that you're not in your car in traffic and you are going to swing through and get a bagel or something. But you already have, whatever that, apple or whatever the special food is that you have planned ahead for. Right. You're setting yourself up for success.
Right.
So we kind of just mentioned it. The food journal is really important, that you're writing down what you are eating. Uh-huh. Tracking it that way, and then if you have any reactions, even in the elimination process, you might as well journal and write about how you felt every day, if you had some weird symptoms, and then especially when you're then adding back in foods one at a time, that you're recording your actual symptoms and reactions. Right. If you have any, you maybe not.
Once you've finished that full elimination cycle, 14, 21, 28 days, whatever you've set up for yourself, the idea is really to be taking a concentrated day's worth of activity and focusing on the reintroduction. So if you've eliminated wheat, then that day that you're coming back to test reactivity to wheat, you need to be eating wheat pasta, flour, breads, and actually getting that back in the body and checking to see what reactions you notice. Same thing. Like the idea is if you've eliminated dairy, eat everything from sour cream to cheese to milk and find out what your reaction levels are.
But in moderate amounts.
Yeah, in moderate
Don't
amounts.
Go crazy.
Yeah, but the idea is almost, you want to see if by
give it a real chance.
Yeah. By taking, if you've eliminated dairy, drink 3 glasses of milk and see if your body has a reaction. The funny thing I'll say about that, though, is that if you're drinking and going back to conventional dairy, there's a lot of cross-contamination issues versus the idea of raw milk.
Yeah, huge difference.
Huge difference. So understand that that's a very big transfer. Again, it's so funny in these elimination diets. I've worked with people to where we find out that certain people are allergic to celery, and they had no idea that would be an allergen to them, but their body has a reaction. Pork.
What are some of the major? What are the major ones, and kind of maybe the top 10, and then what are some of the kind of
top 10? So let's go with wheat.
Wheat,
obviously, the gluten intolerance issue that's out there, and understand also it's the stuff in and on the wheat, sometimes not the gluten itself, but the idea is when you remove it as a food group, as a food type, then your body sometimes will improve overall.
The gluten thing's a whole other episode, isn't it? I mean, there's a debate, kind of ongoing debate.
So wheat number 1, soy, corn.
Corn, yeah.
Those 3 I would say are our big.
And those are the GMOs.
Those are the
GMOs.
GMOs.
Canola oil.
And then so again. What we call unsaturated refined oils. Any of those in that family can be an elimination. Again, rancid oils are canola, safflower, rapeseed.
Sunflower?
Sunflower's okay.
Okay. Good enough.
Soy oil. Grapeseed oil sometimes.
Any rancid oil.
Any rancid style oil, especially polysaturated.
It's not going to be good. You're going to have inflammation.
Dairy. Big issue, and that's in all forms. Eggs, so that's another one. Citrus, this is everything from strawberries down to oranges. We also see a lot of people who are very reactive to just standard conventional pesticide-grown leaf lettuce, which is a very interesting one, but I see that very, very common, to where they think they're doing the right thing, eating healthy salads, and not realizing their body's being exposed to different compounds, toxicities inside leaf salads.
Coconuts and olive oil, a very small percentage can be allergic to.
Can be a little bit less. And then I'd say my other one that kind of rounds off the top 10 is...
Oh, that's right, we're doing the top 10.
I just want to get the last one that I was thinking.
Legumes? Grains?
Just peanuts. Peanuts. But again, it's one of those, Peanut allergies are pretty rampant.
People should cut out
Peanut
grains
oil.
in general during this, typically, right?
It depends. Certain grains, obviously, spelt, farro, even wheat berries that are actually whole wheat berries are a lot of times perfectly fine. Quinoa and chia.
So there's a little bit of research that needs to go into people. Like we could go online and type in elimination diets.
Correct.
And probably find a different couple kinds.
Correct.
So people at home need to do a little bit of their own research and figure out. Just pick a program.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper, the pickled pepper picker, picked a peck of pickled peppers, where is the peck of pickled peppers? Peter Pepper, the pickled pepper picker, picked. So you could go out there and pick which elimination program feels right to you.
Correct. And even if
there's
you're
a good
taking
book on
one
it too,
at a time, then that's one of those where just take it one at a time. I like a lot of times doing the top 5 because the top 5 really do make a lot of difference for a lot of people. The other one that I was going to say would be conventional meat products. So that's the one I was going to say out there. So conventional dairy is one, conventional meat's the other. They're being fed the GMO material. They contain antibiotics. They contain different types of hormones.
They're sick.
We can see
animals.
that issue as well too.
And then what would be some non-food things to eliminate, like different toiletries, cosmetic products, heavy metals,
of course. When
chlorine,
it comes to
because those are going to create similar issues with the gut as far as inflammation.
Yeah.
And the goal is that's what we're trying to do is cut out foods that are causing inflammation, allergic reactions. So it's also important to consider maybe environmental inflammatory substances.
Yeah, one of the unique things that I would, I guess, kind of interject here is we hope that you're coming at this elimination diet mentality and beginning your transformation process with a little bit of previous understanding that you were having a problem to begin with. And you might actually know a little bit as to what's definitely like contributing or relating. And when you're doing that food journaling prior to and through the elimination diet and post, you'll start to see that transfer really occur. So I hope that somebody is saying, at noon I went to the, standard fast food joint and 2 hours later I'm extremely bloated, very heavy feeling, no energy left in my body, small headache over top of the left eye, and you kind of know, like, wow, I've been doing this 2 or 3 days a week. I keep having the same reactions. That's a place I need to start to think about eliminating and kind of moving away from, and look at those food choices and types that you're going after, and it's also break those down.
The reason you have to do the food journal is because sometimes the reaction will happen for a day or 2 or 3 later. So it's kind of it's not a black and white process where everything is going to be super clear.
Correct.
And there's going to be a little bit, part of what's fun about this is you're continuing to develop the relationship with your body and your food. And it's really important to understand the subtle energies of how foods are affecting you. So there's a pro side to this too, is not only are you learning how foods hurt you, but you're also learning what it feels like when foods are working in your body, when you get serotonin, when you get energy, when you're having more ATP function. You're also developing the relationship or the understanding of that sensitive energies in the body. So it's that's what's happening too, is you're developing a relationship. You're making that relationship stronger.
Correct. And that gut-brain relationship is a tremendous connection. You
Intuition.
make most of your hormones in your gut system. If you're constantly inflamed, eating allergenic rich food, a ton of hormone coming from exogenous sources, things of that nature in the diet, that's a lot of times that first place that you'll find a little bit of control. And again, you'll sort of break out of the routine pattern and the style of thinking that every time you eat, that's how you're supposed to feel. And stop blaming your body. The idea is you're blaming yourself for a reaction that's actually perfectly natural and normal in your system to bad food. And so it's not that you should be upset and actually feel like it's something wrong with you that you have to just keep enduring. The idea is eliminate it out. And again, one of the things that I did for myself personally was almost went on a very strict mono diet for close to a year, to where I only took in one type of rice, one type of quinoa, very high quality wild meats, and a fresh vegetable salad that I hand selected from my farmer's market. That was my food choice for a routine, everyday basis, one superfood shake in the morning that was very nutrient dense, that had a lot of the micronutrients to where I was rebuilding and replenishing my body during that time. But I eliminated all that material, lost 70 pounds within 9 months. Everything started switching around. Skin started actually improving. Energy levels went through the roof. I was finally back to a point where I could go back to exercise in my own ways. And again, that was through a very stringent elimination system.
You remind me of something important for people to consider. Is the reason a lot of diets work is because they're elimination diets.
Correct.
For example, like when you go on a raw food diet, or if you go on a fruitarian diet, or a paleo diet, a lot of them in different ways are elimination diets, and that's usually why people get such good results, especially right away. That first month you drop, 15 pounds or 20 pounds, whatever it is. That's the body letting go of all that inflammation. And a big part of it's not so much what you're adding in, but what you actually cut out. And actually, that's a good strategy for eliminating is upgrading your food choices. Everyone's going to be starting at a different level. Some people might be doing fast food every day. So, it's just doing fruits and vegetables is going to be a huge change. So anyways, that's why a lot of these different diets work, is because they are elimination diets. And this is a tool that you can use throughout your health relationship, your food, body, health, mind relationship, is you can always do your preliminary elimination diet that you're going to do to kind of create a good foundation for yourself. But then later, like I do it all the time, is I'll because there's so many different foods, and so like something like bacon or something, I'll see what it's like, if I try that food and see how I react, and if it's not working, then I cut it out. The other thing is that some foods, although you may have an allergenic reaction now,
correct, you can go back to.
If your gut is, then you go through a gut healing process. It may be then that food no longer creates an inflammatory or allergic response in the body because you've healed the gut or the intestines or whatever enzymes were lacking or gut flora was lacking to digest that food.
Yeah, we see that all the time. That's very common. People are literally trying to live with one or two strain of probiotic inside their gut. Majority of their bacterium inside their colon is actually antigenic, so it actually will hurt and destroy and cause issues like C. diff and H. pylori. If they grow too heavily, Candida, same thing. If it grows too heavily, it starts to cause reaction. It's because we don't have enough of the actual probiotic back in the system. And when you've done with an elimination system, it's great because, like I say, there's this post-recovery phase that comes into where now I'm hyperreactive to 2 or 3 of the foods you eliminated. You completely cut those away from the diet still, and then you start going into more of a prebiotic, probiotic, rebuilding, using bone broth soup, using aloe vera pulp extracts to really bring in some good function and some healing, turmerics and schizandra berry and some of these heavy anti-inflammatories, in order for us to see the healing start to occur for those tissues. So that's one of those to where when we're looking at this, we sort of have those 3 phases for everybody who's coming up and trying to figure this out. The idea is you're recognizing a problem. You've established that using an elimination diet, phase 2, will maybe provide some answers. You run that course of the elimination diet, and then afterwards you surmise what foods you've been reactive to. You drop those out, and then you start more of a post-elimination or recovery phase diet where you're really trying to repair. And once you've eliminated something, it just takes a matter of time for the inflammation it was causing to be reduced and for your body to start to heal.
That's right.
So these 3 steps, where we've kind of been talking about how to start working on your own personal program for transformation, this is that really key and critical place to grab a hold of your food choices and decisions in order to say, aha, I'm finally understanding a little bit more about me and able to jump out and, again, stop listening to everything that the TV says, your friends say, all of those, added comments. You really just want to go, nope, I'm on my own path. I'm doing this for myself. I'm really listening to maybe some guidance from a coach, my own personal body, and I'm not going to care what, anybody is actually kind of giving me back as feedback. The idea is, you'll get through this. You'll become stronger during this process. We really want to see people taking charge of their own health, and when they come up with a program that works for them and not just following or edifying a particular book or a platform that's been made famous. Again, I think it's funny. I've tried somewhere between probably 30 or 40 different meal strategies, meal plans, and I probably eat a combination of maybe 6 to 10 of those. So I'm kind of paleo with a little bit of vegetarianism on some days. Definitely added fasting in. Really started doing superfood and micronutrient focus. It's unique because I do more raw meats, raw dairy than and instead of the idea of actually going back to the standard chipped beef, ground products. I found that I had more reactivity if there was ever ground food products. So I don't do flour. I don't do any kind of.
But if you ground it yourself, it'd probably be better.
Maybe, but I'm just not to that point yet. So, but again, it's one of these to where we're setting up these steps. If you've been following along, you can really see how now we've been guiding you through a process over the last month that if you just start here and review these videos, you'll get these tips and these pointers to kind of get that empowerment for yourself. And if you're still in question, you need some sort of guidance, some benefits, feel free to always drop us a line, give us a comment here, send us an email over to twocrazyhealthcoaches@gmail.com. You can find me at brilliancenutrition.com. It's definitely one of those where we're trying to make this accessible, easy, focused, very understandable, and that way everybody can start to get themselves into a point of health control.
It's kind of like what are the most practical ways for us to improve our health and wellness? And that's why we did a whole episode about just going back to basics.
Yeah.
What are some of the most simplest things you can do to improve your health? And I feel like those simplest things are the best things. I mean, they're foundational.
Yeah.
I was talking to a girl today about stress, and we were talking about all these different herbs and things she can take. But I said, essentially, you want to make sure that your basic nutritional needs are taken care of. That your vitamins and your minerals, that you're getting those from food sources. That's why we like to use superfoods so much and do a smoothie every day.
Right.
Is because it's a foolproof system to know that you're getting nutrient-dense foods, wild nutrient-dense foods, instead of just taking a supplement, which maybe there's great oral supplements out there that are from whole food sources.
All right.
But really, a smoothie is a great way to assure that you're getting all the vitamins and minerals using foods like spirulina and different, moringa, these other really nutrient-dense foods. You know that you're getting a full spectrum of vitamins and minerals every day. And I think that's important while you're doing an elimination diet, is have your smoothie strategy. I like that, smoothie strategy, so that your body's not hungry for more zinc and magnesium and B vitamins, these kinds of things, where you're likely to go for a donut or something just to fulfill that need. The other thing, one thing we should talk about real quick too, is how a lot of foods that we will be allergic to can be addictive. I'm not sure why, but as someone with a gluten sensitivity or complete gluten issues, they may very well be craving. And in fact, I think gluten or bread is pretty much addictive for everybody. Just like dairy, there's an opiate effect. Sugar, you can definitely do a sugar detox, and probably a good thing to consider. A little bit different than what we're talking about when we're talking about elimination diet, because we're talking about foods causing inflammation or allergies, but refined sugar could cause inflammation as well.
Correct.
And it's a huge issue for people. It's probably most people's issue. Most people are pre-diabetic or diabetic and don't realize it.
Yeah.
When you say the majority of the population is most likely pre-diabetic,
1 and 2 right now.
There you go.
Pretty much everybody. You can see we have 2 people here. I'm not. He is. So just put that out there.
I can fast longer than you.
We'll see. We'll see. Like
this Sunday,
we've got
Michael Reisel versus Joseph Montgomery.
We've got 1 week until we do the 10-day water fast, which is going to be pretty interesting and a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. So we're going to follow you basically for 10 days, right?
For 10 days, we'll keep doing little updates, little video blogs.
And it's not just a water fast, but
it'll be.
Are you doing some broths too, some bone broths?
I'll go as many days as I can with just the water. I'll be doing different types of nutrients in the water. Silica base, crystal energy, minerals.
Right, because you don't want to drink just water. Water's a delivery system.
Yeah. So the concept is I will be this time around not doing an end of the day shake or broth food or anything like that to break the fast.
Are you doing any salt flushes or colon cleanse?
I might start with one. And and I could do a hydrocolon therapy session during that 10 days as well too this time around. So
it'll make a good video. So we're going to start doing a lot more of these types of videos where there's a float lab nearby where I've never done it, but it sounds amazing for therapy and healing the body, even for like things like PTSD.
Yeah.
So healing the mind, healing the soul, really important, so that we can get on and heal this planet, heal ourselves, and really let the fun begin. I'm super excited about this.
You guys.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's definitely one of those. Get started. It's worth it. I know that if I today told myself 10 years ago it's worth it, get done now, I probably would have gone a little bit heavier and faster in the whole process of converting over to healthy living. But it is one of those where at least I was starting. So that's the big piece, is that I had enough foresight to kind of get into health.
Right.
But we want to support everybody out there who's making these efforts, doing it on their own.
Support and encourage.
Don't feel like you're on your own.
You're not.
We're definitely here. Drop comments, send us an email. Love to follow up with you. And again, we always enjoy specifically answering any kind of viewer comments or requests for information on anything, any great topic out there. So
yeah, that's the other part of the show, is utilize us and send us your questions, and we'd love to give you our spin on it.
Correct. So tons of great information out there. We hope you keep it crazy. We want to see everybody out, reaching for good echelons of health. So feel free to send us any comments, any questions. We look forward to catching you on the flip side.
Right on. Stay hydrated, guys. We'll see you next time.
Stay crazy.